Okay, I will call this meeting of the Public Safety Committee to order. All right, roll call. We have everybody here except Supervisor Conrad, who had a last minute work issue that she is tending to. Affidavit of posting. This agenda was posted by the county clerk's office in compliance with all applicable laws. And we will rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, so our first item is the consent agenda, which has the minutes from the January 18th meeting. Need a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion.
Supervisor Toma, I need a second. Supervisor Milliken. Any questions on the consent agenda or comments? Okay, seeing none, all those in favor of approving the consent agenda signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And motion carries. All right, our first discussion item is the district attorney quarterly report. And our district attorney, Mark Benson, is here, so I'll invite him forward. Good morning, sir.
Hi, good morning. Thank you for having me. Still kind of a new process, these quarterly reports. Bottom line is, I think that we're on track on all of our goals that we have tried to establish for the year and for each of the quarters. We're still working on various metrics for success for the drug treatment court and deferred prosecution agreement programs. And trying to increase the number of graduates. We're now up to 12 individuals in the drug treatment court program since the last time. But unfortunately, a couple of people that have been discharged from the program. But there are 12 in the program currently right now. And we're working with various individuals for various different potential grants as well that might help out the program. With regard to the inpatient treatment, we're still working on that. I don't know if realistically whether we're going to accomplish that goal in the near future, to be perfectly honest with you. With regard to office functions, we've had some, unfortunately, this past several months for our office has been one that's been a very challenging time in terms of turnover. And that's been a challenge. I think various other departments may have established that. We've been very fortunate during my time in the 20 years in the office to have not a lot of turnover in the office. And for a variety of reasons, we've had a few attorneys leave, 4 attorneys leave, a couple for better jobs and better opportunities elsewhere. Maybe one who made a difference of opinion on. And then a couple of individuals that have now some staff that have left the office, and those individuals have left for better opportunities. There's opportunities out there, as you all know. It's an interesting time work-wise, and people are in good employees are in high demand. So we have we've had two positions, county positions in the office, one of which took a little while to fill. We filled it with an awesome young individual that we were able to take from another office within the county. So that's one of these things that I know the county is working on, is having ability for county employees to be trained and maybe to have the ability to move within a department, but also to other departments if better opportunities arise. And this was one example of that, where at least this individual felt that it was a good opportunity for her to still remain a county employee, but to switch departments. And so we're interviewing for an open position right now, and I know that some of those individuals that have been interviewed are also interested in the ability for mobility. There's a little bit of mobility in our office county employees to go to different positions that have more pay and more job responsibilities. But I think through the various county departments, an individual that's in the county has a lot of great opportunities. I would never want anyone to leave our office to go to another county department. But if there's better opportunities, then that I wish them well. The timeliness and working on the internal timeliness, that's a challenge. We're working on that, particularly with the turnover that we've had. It's been a real challenge. We've filled the attorney roles with a couple experienced attorneys, which are great. Sometimes experienced attorneys have their way of doing things, which is can be a challenge. And then we have a nice young attorney who's a great young guy right out of law school. And as far as cross training goes, our office manager is doing a great job with cross training for various functions within the department. So that's a quick update on how things are going. We're up to 12 people in the drug treatment court. And we're always looking for new people to come in, try to identify individuals that are appropriate for the program. So
for the staffing, so right now it sounds like you have all your assistant district attorneys filled and you're just looking for one office person, is that right?
that's correct. Yes,
Okay, good.
yes.
Yeah, we don't want anything like Dodge County had to happen to them, so.
Well, the best examples of that are the challenges I think some of the district attorney's offices are feeling around the state, or Dodge County. Sheboygan is in a constant state of difficulty for them for I think some reasons, for a variety of reasons, but they're short staffed and the like. But Dodge, and I know the Dodge County DA, and I think he tried to the former Dodge County DA. And I know that he tried real hard to try to make things work. Yeah. So right now we're okay. It's just it's a challenge with different things. There's been as you know, I think you all know, with the judges, there's been a change in the judges as well. Working with the judges, we have one contested election as well. So there's been some changes, and the judges can do things to make our job less challenging, and then they can do some things that make our job more challenging. And they've picked on a couple things they've done some things that have been helpful for our office, but they've also done a couple things that have made that are going to in the near future make our job a lot more challenging for a variety of reasons that I won't get into right now, but just certain things. So there's a lot of I think right now within the courthouse community, being the DA's office, the judges, clerk of court's office, and also the public defender's office, there's been incredible change, I would say, in the last year to year and a half. The public defender's office also has had a significant turnover and change. So it's just an interesting time of transition, some of which is just when you have longstanding employees, just by nature of the beast, people tend to do things like retire. But then some of it has just been a variety of reasons, people going onto what they perceive as better opportunities, which I can't blame them for.
Yeah. Yep. Okay. Other questions for District Attorney Benson? All right, looks like we're all set here. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Okay. So next item on our agenda is the capital improvement plan requests. So that's gonna be Aaron.
Good morning. Yes, I just wanted to say, a couple of minutes worth, just to kick the process off before I turn it over to the departments themselves.
Okay.
So just a little bit about the CIP, as you know, the counties, we've got substantial investments in roads and buildings and equipment and parks and all kinds of infrastructure. So the CIP is the way we manage and maintain these items, right? So the CIP is a 6-year plan. We really focus on those first 2 years, but we do plan for 6. The first 2 being the immediate 2 that we're planning for the coming biennium. CIP is largely funded with sales tax. There's other non-levy sources in there, for particularly the enterprise funds, parks and things like that. They fund it with their own fund balance. They save for things. So the sales tax itself is split on an annual basis, as most of you know. There's some direct property tax relief in there. And then there's also tax avoidance through budgeting for capital projects as well. And so in terms of our process for CIP, departments have spent, the first part of this year here generating and prioritizing and updating their project requests. So you all of the standing committees are going to be seeing the projects for your assigned departments in February. That'll be a discussion item. Really, everybody is just starting to look at these things, right? So we're starting to collect and look for your input on things. And we're also collectively getting answers to questions as well. So after the committees see the projects, the budget team works with the exec's office, and we sort of evaluate all of the funding streams that are available to us, all of the different projects, what the priorities are. Some things, it's just the same as any budget. You're balancing, your available fiscal resources with the county and the community's priorities, right? So we'll package all of these individual requests will get packaged up into what we call the full CIP, the full capital improvement plan. And that goes to the executive committee in March and the full board in April. So the board will approve that plan in April. You actually fund the plan with the operating budget in that November timeframe, right? So happy to answer any process questions, but I just wanted to give you a little feel for what's going to happen before I kick it off to the departments.
Yeah, I have the sheriff's one pulled up on my screen, and there's a column that says prior. Is that the period of 2022 and 2023, or?
It could be. It's that prior column contains costs and revenues since we started using the system, right? So for like the squad car program, you'll see that prior column has a lot of history in there from the prior purchases and things like that.
Gotcha.
Versus
That's everything since we started doing this.
pretty much. Yeah.
Okay. And everything in the year columns, that's the total amount being requested, right? That's not a new or additional amount, that's a total, right?
Correct. That's the total.
Okay, yep.
So, all right.
Other question? What?
My question was similar to yours, and I was going to ask if this was the prior covered basically back to 2017 based off of the project history notes on the bottom of the pages, because that's CIP for 17 through 21 and 22 through 27. So that's why I'm assuming that the project started with 17 when we probably started tracking these costs.
That's a good point. Yes, 2017, that would be the year we use this particular system. So we would have started tracking all of it from then on.
Thank you.
So.
Okay, who's up next?
I can go.
All right.
Well, thank you very much, committee members. Appreciate it. So the CIP that you see in front of you for the sheriff's office is kind of broken down into a couple of different areas. There's both equipment and infrastructure. Some of the infrastructure, I think facilities will be addressing. Most of the capital improvement projects that you see specifically for the sheriff's office operations, you have seen before. That's both the equipment replacement for the squads, but I'll get to that. That's been modified quite a bit. The indoor ranger model has appeared before you before. The handgun replacement plan has. The one new one is the taser replacement program for the jail. And we can talk about that if you think that should be a budget issue versus a capital improvement. I'm completely open to that, but it's something that definitely needs to be addressed in the jail. So I guess my question to you is, do you would specifically want me to go through each one of those and have my staff kind of give you highlights of it? Or are you happy with the documentation that was provided in the agenda packet?
I'm kind of happy with the documentation in here, but I don't know what other people's thoughts are and if they have specific questions or if they want everything gone through.
I just have specific questions.
Okay, why don't you go ahead with those then?
Okay, squad cars. Kind of doing a little deciphering through there. It doesn't actually say how many we're purchasing in 24 because it's a larger amount. But typically it was 10 squads, but it talks about increasing 13 additional squads in the future. So are we buying all additional 13 this year, or are we incrementally building up to?
So the ones we purchased that we didn't take delivery of, what we purchased for, it would be for 2023, is a total of 15 new brand new squads that we purchased. Now keep in mind that's to replace 10 existing ones that we have. So we're really adding 5 brand new cars to the fleet. And then what we're proposing is to hold over some of the older squads that we think we can get a more mileage out of. I think there's a total of 7 of those. So a total of adding, I believe it's 12 squads to our fleet for this year.
I see Aaron said nodding yes.
Is that okay? Yeah, correct me if I'm wrong on that. And if you want me to go through the justification, I'm more than prepared to do that. I just don't know how much time you want me to take on the particular
I'm not
program.
asking for justification. I was just trying to figure out exactly how many, we see dollars. I don't know. I was trying to equate that into units.
So to do the program completely, we figure that we're gonna have to increase our fleet by 25.
And so, but this capital improvement plan does not get you to that additional 25 month, does it?
It does, yeah.
It does. So, because the 24 and 25 are almost, are double or almost double. Years 26 through 29. So are you just incrementally buying less additional squads in the later years of this?
Correct. I mean, once we get the program in place, we'll still have to replace squads. But the hope is not quite as many as we normally would. But there's still a maintenance, because we're figuring the squads will be in service 6 years-ish once the program's in place.
So the increase of, you said it was 25 squads.
A total of 25, correct?
When will that increase be completely recognized and we're on kind of the new replacements?
That would be 2025.
So, okay, so when that bigger dollar amount drops off between 25 and 26, by that time we'll have expanded the entire.
That's the idea, correct?
Okay, thank you. Oh, sorry, one more question related to the squads. Because this is not just in prior times that I've been a part of this process. It's been, you replace the vehicle, but a lot of equipment transfers over from squad to squad. Are these costs including those new setup?
Correct,
Cost.
yes.
And I think right now you're getting 3 years out of each squad, right?
Correct, yes.
And the belief is by having squads assigned to individual deputies, they're gonna get less use, and so we're thinking they're gonna last us 6 years.
Yeah, the Richfield squads, we have that model in place right now.
Yeah.
So they have the one-on-one squads. That's about what they're 6 to 6.5 years.
Yeah.
Is what we're seeing out of those.
Okay. Other questions?
I have a question on the handgun replacement. Is that just something you do every so many years?
So the current Glocks that we carry, in 2024, we're scheduled to have them replaced. They'll be in service for 14 years. And it's just about time that we just want to make sure the deputies have reliable firearms. And I think 14 years is a pretty good number for the handguns.
So that's not an expense we're going to see very often.
No.
Thank you.
Next question is for the shooting range. We just have a lump sum in 26 for that. I'm wondering if that includes the design costs and if those should be done in the
We're,
Ahead of time.
we're hoping it does. I'm not sure. So that original project was actually slated for, I believe, 23 and 24. And there's some discussion with the county executive. We pushed it back to 2026. So I'm not, Bruce, do you think that is going to cover it?
I don't think it will, once we get to that point,
But we don't know.
initially we were going to do the architecture part of it. To see what it was actually.
You want to come up here? So just because the mic's on.
Initially, we were gonna request funds just to have someone come in and take a look at it and put a plan together to see what actually it's gonna cost. We really have no idea. We're kind of just threw a figure at it to get something in the process, so.
Yeah, and this has been an issue or on the radar since I was on public safety my first time with the previous sheriff too. And so I keep seeing this kind of get pushed out and costs are going up.
Yeah.
It'd be nice to at least take some of the questions out of the equation with knowing the exact scope of what that space is really gonna become or how it's gonna be used. How does this work during the CIP review for if we want to make amendments or changes?
Because it's a discussion item, I think we would just provide feedback. I'm gonna look at it, Mike Fode.
Recommendation to the executive committee?
They're gonna take it back and review it with the executive based upon your guys' discussion and feedback. And then they'll bring the revised plan, to the executive, and then so at that time, then
I guess who's ever taking the notes for recommendations, I would like to get some monies placed sooner. In the schedule to start working on the design of it and nailing that down, so at least we know what we're
Yeah,
really budgeting for and making a realistic budget then.
I like that idea too, that sometime in this next 2-year time frame, we have that design study done. So we know what it would cost. So how much do we think it would cost just to have architect come in and do a design study? Like 50 grand, 100 grand?
That's the thing, and put a request out for proposals at least
Yeah.
to get some bidding in place for that.
Yeah,
We actually did have a company come in and take a look at it, but since it got pushed back so far, we didn't actually sign anything or go any further with them, but they did give us some figures that if we can look up potentially what's gonna cost for design and architecture part of
Yeah.
it. so.
okay. Yeah,
I would like to get the project at least shovel ready for budgeting purposes and
yeah,
act on it, if something pops up that there's availability to move it up sooner than.
yeah, because there might be a grant that comes out from the federal government that could help cover this. We don't know, and if we have everything ready, we can jump at that when it comes up, so. Yeah, I like that thinking.
And it really is an important piece of infrastructure for a countywide law enforcement. It's really the only indoor range exclusively used for law enforcement, and it's open to all the jurisdictions to use, so it's kind of an important facility for us.
That's and then I got one other point on a different topic. Last one is the taser replacements for the jail. I believe these are all just jail specific tasers.
Correct, yes.
Wondering, can we use jail assessment funds for that versus sales tax?
I think the criteria is that it has to benefit the inmates, so I'm not sure if I guess I could let the captain speak to what his opinion is on that use.
So jail assessment funds would not, that would not fit the criteria. There is a possibility of us using our commissary funds for that item. But not jail assessment. Jail assessment would be for education, medical, and then physical changes within the facility. Like remodeling and stuff like that.
Okay, thank you.
And the tasers, quite honestly, the jail gets a lot of hand-me-downs from patrol, and that's what these are, and they're really at end of life, so they really need to be addressed.
Okay, So I think, go ahead.
I've got a question on
Yeah.
that. The indoor range says a remodel. 900,000 on a remodel? Can you explain that a little further? I'm new here, so
yeah.
I don't know where is this range?
Sure. So it's part of the sheriff's office. It's inside our building. It's adjacent to our garage area. The range it was built with the original building, and that I think was 1979. We've done some rehab to it since then with some of the mechanics in it and the bullet traps. But a major component of it is the HVAC systems. There's a lot of criteria of inflow of air and outflow of air. We're probably not meeting that, and I think that's where a huge part of the expense is going to be, is to have proper HVAC in it.
Your exposure to lead.
Yeah. Been at the Richfield range. And that's, but how often is this used? Are the officers required like once a month to go in, or is it on their own where they use this?
Well, as I mentioned, so we open it up to all law enforcement. So I think the past 2 days, I think West Bend police have been in it. It gets used monthly for sure. There's monthly shoots that the sheriff's office does that all of the sworn officers try to do. So that's at a bare minimum. But then our tactical teams all use it. So there's in one of the annual reports, there's usually a breakout of how many times per year both our indoor and outdoor ranges. I don't know them off the top of my head, but the indoor range is used far more than the outdoor range.
Where's the outdoor range?
That's located at Heritage Trails County Park off of Highway E.
Thank you.
Other questions on the sheriffs? Or otherwise we can move on to the jail.
All right.
Yep.
Am I putting you on a spot, Kara? Are you prepared to? Okay. Should I ask you that before the meeting? Sorry.
Yeah, that sounds. Thanks. For this year, for the CIP ads, there's 4 different things that I added to the CIP. All the other items were already on the CIP. Excuse me. So the first one is a upgrade to the sergeant system. That's a combination project with the jail staff, IT and facilities. I put it in as a facilities budget item. It's upgrade to the controls. I think Captain Lehman can talk a little bit more if you have questions about that one. Then the other, another project is the tile, the VCT tile that was originally put into the jail did not adhere properly to the concrete. So we've had a consistent peeling problem. We've dealt with the worst of it in the inmate areas. And now we have some hallways and the visitors area to deal with where that's starting to degrade now. So we put that in as phase 3 of that project. We're removing that tile, grinding and polishing the concrete to a finish, and then just leaving it as polished concrete. And then the other 2 items, or actually the 2 items that I added were kitchen and laundry equipment. We have regular failures of that equipment, and starting to plan ahead to replace those so we don't have the unexpected failures, which causes a lot of disruption in the kitchen. Also, a lot of these items are, anywhere from $15,000 to $30,000. So coming up with money on the fly for those is challenging. So want to start planning out those equipment replacements in advance. And then the last item is just a routine scheduled replacement of air handling equipment that services the jail. This equipment is housed indoors in mechanical rooms over in the sheriff's office and jail, provides services the Huber area as well as the jail areas. And we're splitting that into 2 projects based off of where the equipment's located. And that's based off of age, and also we're noticing some deterioration. So we're expecting in the next 4 or 5 years that we're going to continue to see those pieces of equipment degrade, and we'll start having more challenging issues with with keeping them operational on a daily basis. The final item that is changing on this CIP is the jail roof replacement project. Was split into 2 years, this year and next year. Obviously, we're not going to do a halfway replacement, so we're moving all of that money except for the initial planning money into next year. We'll do the specifications this year and have it ready to bid so that we're replacing it in about a year. And then the shift of that money is actually going to be used to, we had a CCTV project next year that we're moving to this year to kind of do a swap of those funds. That's getting presented with the Public Works Committee tomorrow evening. So with that, any questions about any of these specific projects?
The tile removal and floor polishing, I know this has been ongoing effort. Is phase 3 the final phase? Will we have gone to the point where
Yes, phase 3 is the end.
then how many phases there were?
Yeah.
The other question, and this is related to probably a large majority of this, would any of these be more proper to be funded through the jail assessment funds versus sales tax?
I'm gonna leave that to. Yeah,
I know at times the jail assessment fund balance can be, I don't know, seems larger size than myself, I guess, and I'm just wondering if otherwise that's being built up for other purposes besides these items.
Yes, so I think jail assessment could fit the criteria for some of these projects.
Things like the kitchen equipment, laundry equipment, those really seem to be a direct benefit to the users of them. And I'm just thinking if that helps us free up sales tax, so towards other priorities. I guess I'd look for from Aaron, I guess, assessment of how big that fund is and is there any other planning for that fund? That we
Sure.
don't want to tap it.
I think the fund currently sits at about 1.2 million, something like that. And absolutely part of this process. So a lot of the projects you've seen are identified as funded with sales tax. Part of that process where we go back with we're examining all of those available funding sources, what that looks like, if there's others, funding sources that we can shift over, different things like that. So the funding piece is still, being worked on at this point. And I'm taking a lot of good notes about your questions and things like that. So I'm gonna make sure we incorporate all that in to the final project, but.
Yeah, and I know this is primarily, it's a CIP, but the funding portion of it, I guess, to get a better CIP plan use of the jail assessment funds or a use of the jail assessment funds to understand, not that we dip into it and there's a longer range priority with it elsewhere, I guess.
A plan for it too, right? Okay.
Because it's been, my time here, it's just been used as, have to do it as needed for stuff is what it appears to me, so I guess trying to figure out what we're really. For.
Okay.
I think I can maybe address a little bit of that. So if you remember the supervisors that took a tour of the jail, some of the areas in the jail, I don't think that in the near future, we're looking at expanding the jail anytime period. I think the facilities that we have are adequate. But having said that, if you recall the tour, wherever you saw bars, and there's significant areas in the old jail where you saw the metal bars, those are areas that we need to look at renovating at some point. And I think the jail assessment is that fund seems big, but I think that might be one area that we'd be looking to use some of those funds. I don't want to misspeak for the captain, but that is, to me, is a liability area. If you can imagine what can be done with the bars and some of we've had suicides in the jail in that area. So we really need at some point to address that specifically.
Then maybe if we want to start putting that on this or future CIPs, and start to
Yeah.
plan for that then, because otherwise I know it's an issue, but when would you propose addressing it?
That's a good question. We don't know what it's going to cost either, but it's something that we surely need to look at.
Maybe, I don't know. If it pays, but you know, we're talking about design services for the shooting range, can we get more of a general assessment of your upgrades, whether the fire replacement, the shoot, more specifically the shooting range, but
Sure,
get
yeah.
some, rope it in to get some
And then
input on it.
The other part of that I should mention, so it's not only the bar part of it, but one of the areas that we really see a need for in the jail is more isolation cells. So there's areas that we could renovate inside to create more space where we can isolate either for behavioral issues or medical issues. But we really struggle with some of the areas that we have to try to isolate individuals in our custody.
Yeah, so maybe instead of obvious, you know, in my time on the board, it's been planning for the future expansion, which it seems we're not looking at that right now, but maybe it's time to start looking at the long range.
Yeah, I think,
internal flow of the facility and what improvements we could start discuss.
yeah, I think you're exactly right.
Thank you.
Okay, other questions? All right, I think that covers the capital improvement program then, so, yep, thank you. And then our last item on the agenda here is the resolution for the grant program for municipal public safety radios. So. Yeah, let's go to that right away. So motion Supervisor Krebs, second Supervisor Toma. Sorry, Jeff, you got his hand up quicker.
That's fine.
All right,
Looking straight at me.
yep. So Aaron.
All
go
right,
ahead.
me again. Morning, everybody. So the grant program that you're seeing now, that's essentially a program designed to help municipalities buy radios when they're adding police, adding firefighters, things like that. The county executive has heard from some of our other partner agencies that, you know, purchasing these radios, these one-time costs can be tough to absorb in budgets. So much like some of those previous grant programs you approved a couple of months ago, this resolution really just kind of allocates the funding and gives staff the okay to start drawing up some rules, right, for a grant program. This committee will approve those rules. You'll approve the applications themselves. And so this resolution just essentially frees up some money for us to build out that program. Generally speaking, the list price on a mobile radio, I don't know, between $8,000 and $9,000. I think portables are a little bit less. $500,000 buys us 50 to 60 radios, right? So we're not buying a ton, but really this is just essentially creating another program, funding another way for us to pay for radios on our system when we have the chance to do so.
And so this is coming out of the general fund. Is it the intent that it's really sales tax dollars that's funding this, correct?
Well, it's a general fund transfer. We've said before that we expect sales tax to come in above budget. And so yeah, we'll be cutting a check from the general fund, but we expect excess sales tax to kind of go back in at the end of the term. So
Yeah, so when municipalities express concern about sharing the sales tax, this is one of those ways in which we're sharing that sales tax.
absolutely.
Yep.
Mhm.
Okay, other questions, comments? Go ahead.
Always have a question.
Yeah.
No problem.
This is strictly for law enforcement, fire and EMS. This would not be open to public works or parks type of activities and stuff like that.
Correct.
And this would be any municipality within the county is eligible for this.
Correct. Yeah. So the intent would be once the funds are approved, we would set up a group to hammer out the final, all the specific details in the rules, and this committee would get sort of what that grant program looks like. You'll get a full a full document and you'll be approving those applications as well. So I wanted to put as much detail as we knew today in this report, but there's more to come.
So there would be, the intent is there would be some scrutiny of the applications coming forward that it's not a guaranteed type grant.
Correct.
Would Washington County Sheriff's Department be eligible for this grant?
Would we even need them to be, since we'd be granting ourselves some money? Yeah,
Well, if the sheriff's off budget or CIP doesn't address it, and if it's a way to add additional. Well, I'm just asking the question on the front side, so they know
Yeah.
they should.
Sure. No, that's, I honestly didn't think about it, but I'll bring it. I mean, as we're building the program, I'll make sure that's something we talk about.
But then you can make numbers say many things, so.
yeah, you can. Yep. Other questions or comments? Okay, then we'll go ahead and vote on this. All those in favor of this resolution signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Okay, so motion carries.
Thank you.
And I believe that's our last item on the agenda. So our next meeting will be Wednesday, March 15th at 7:30 a.m. This meeting's adjourned. All right.